families, I want to talk to you today about the helping hand. Your child should have received one that looks like this, okay? I'm going to go through all of these different strategies and why we use them, and then I will give you an example of how we use them. This helping hand is something that we use when we're doing our guided reading groups. These are the strategies that we use when we get stuck on a word, okay? You might notice right in the middle it says, what can I do when I get stuck? Well, the helping hand is the 6 strategies that we encourage our students to use in kindergarten to get them unstuck on those tricky words. All right, so when I teach these, I teach them in order, mainly because beginning readers are going to focus on the first 3, and then as you get into harder text, like a level C, D, E, where the text isn't predictive, that's when you need 4, 5, and 6, okay? So, number 1 is think about what makes sense, and that's very self-explanatory. When you're reading, you need it to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, you probably want to check it, okay? Number 2 is to look at the pictures. We encourage the students to look at the pictures so that they can figure out what that tricky word might be, because a lot of times the picture clues are going to help you. Number 3 is to get your mouth ready. Get your mouth ready is a prompt we use when we want them to get their mouth ready to say the first sound. So they look at a word, they don't know what it is, they start with the first letter and they make the first sound. So get your mouth ready to say the first sound. Number 4 is to look across the word. Very self-explanatory. That just reminds them to look all the way to the end, because sometimes we get stuck at the beginning. Number 5 is to say the part I know, okay? We do not say sound it out. Instead, we say the part you know, all right? And then number 6 is to reread. So let me show you what this might look like with the book. Right here, I've got the Hard and Soft is the book that we're reading. And I've got my helping hand. This is the one your students should have. So let's pretend they're reading this page and they are stuck and they have no idea what this word right here is. They've already read the sight words. Here is A, and they get right here to this word and they just don't know. So that's when I would say, okay, get out your helping hand. All right, think about what would make sense right there. Look at the pictures. And so they come down here and they look at the pictures and they see that there's a rabbit, right? Okay, get your mouth ready. What is the first sound in that word? And this is where the student would make the first sound. R. Now, at this point, they've looked at the pictures and they've made that first sound. Their brain is likely going to say, it's a rabbit. And they'll be able to figure out, here is a rabbit, okay? But if they can't get that, then you can encourage them to do more, okay? Look across the word is what you would use next. You would look across the word and say the part you know. I always use 4 and 5 together. Look across the word and say the part that you know. So then they could look across it, and that's when they are going to make the sounds they know. Ab, it, okay? And the last part is to reread. Now, rereading is when you go back to the beginning of the sentence and reread it to try to figure it out. Here is a rabbit, okay? I hope that helps you. All of us use this and we all use this same language. So if you have any questions, just holler and we'll be happy to answer them, okay? The last thing I wanted to tell you, and I'll make sure that this is on the resource slide for you, is we've got different prompts that we use while we are doing a guided reading group, okay? These prompts go from needing not very much support to needing a lot of support. This is what we use instead of just giving them the answer. Sometimes those kids get hung up and you just want to be like, the word is the, just say the word, right? Instead of doing that, we've got these prompts so that we can give them the ownership of their reading and then they are figuring it out. Because every time I just cave and give them the answer, they're not thinking and they're not decoding and they're not taking ownership or figuring out the word. And then sooner or later, the child gets in the habit of getting stuck and they just look at me to give them the answer, right? So to avoid that, I make it their responsibility. So some of the prompts from less support to more support is less support is to just wait. It is okay to just wait and let them figure it out and work through it. And sometimes they'll get it, okay? Now, if you're waiting and you're not saying anything and they're still just struggling, then you can come in and say something like, will you reread that? Or you could say, what is it that's bothering you about that word? And they can start talking through it. If they need more support, you could say, well, how can you help yourself figure that out? Or what letter do you think you would see at the beginning if this was the word the? Okay? If they need more support, you could go on to using the helping hand. Did you check your picture clues? Did you get your mouth ready? Does that make sense? Okay? And one of the things I use a lot when they are just completely stuck and they have hit a roadblock and they don't know what to do, instead of giving them the word, I'll say, well, could it be this or this? And now you're giving them a choice of two different words, so they still have to make the decision, okay? And the last thing that I do if they're still stuck is just get out a whiteboard and say the sounds and write it out, and that will sometimes help them figure it out, okay? So the main goal of this is to make sure that they are taking ownership of their reading and they're taking responsibility for it so that they can be the ones to celebrate when they figure it out, okay? All right, thank you, friends.